Hi all and welcome to the Truth, Honour and Integrity Show. My name's Thomas Williams. This is Crossroads for Humanity. And this will be a hard-hitting show for all. It will pull no punches and it will not tread lightly on considering people's feelings. It will be the cold truth, and it's time we all put our adult pants on and act accordingly in line with source and our true destiny. Like the song says, I see me through your eyes. It is time we all see each other through all our eyes and accept responsibility and push forward. I often wonder, do people ponder on the pressures and the enormous weight, responsibility, burden and sacrifice required when operating at the real top levels of society? For those new to this show, those you know as the deep state are in fact the lower minions. I don't say that to be demeaning, I say it because it is a fact. The majority of the deep state lurks in the bottom 10% of the former control structure. People often focus on, wouldn't it be cool to be in this position or that position, without pondering on what sacrifices have been made to get there, or sacrifices to stay there, or stay alive. Many think of the status of the position and it being important in the eyes of others, forgetting it's more important to do important work than stand there and be important with some fake title or other, the latter of which is pure ego. Many people ponder on the fact it would be cool to get all the inside scoop and the intel of what's going on, forgetting the burden it places upon you, the sin eating, or neglect the fact whether you could handle it. Trust me, most can't. Your perception of what you think is life all goes out of the window at that level, and a new reality bursts through. Most people are frightened of changing their jobs, never mind their whole reality. And it requires operating on a whole level that few comprehend, whilst dabbling in the humdrum of everyday life, operating in two worlds, try several, due to this planet being a nexus planet for many others. For too long now the few have carried the many. For too long now the many have been content to sit back and wait for the next saviour, be that Q, Trump, or even worse, Putin. That time is over. We worked in the dark for the benefit of the light. The baton needs to be passed far and wide now, with all participating. Your destiny, your choice, your world. Who made who indeed? To all who think they're important on this world, bloodline families, royals, and all kinds of other fake titles, Pindar, King of the World, etc., Grandmaster this and Grandmaster that. Remember who made who. We the people made you where you are, and we the people will take it away. Your choice. You can work with us, or we'll work around you. Now this next message was played on Thursday, but we'll repeat it and form the backdrop to this show. And the message is from Kim, the trustee of the Manor World Holding Trust, and all need to pay attention. Listeners, members, families, royals, agencies, governments, think tanks and minions. who we know listen to this show, and it's time to take heed. Kim says, we have reached a critical point in which humanity has a chance to rise up and become its own ruler. The backwork has been done. There is nothing standing in your way. They fear you, not the other way round. Let me explain. The three main controllers of humanity and the order givers to the order and the parents, families, family masters. And if you don't know what this is, then you should find out. Have all pulled support from the covens and the 13 bloodlines, known to most of you as Rothschilds, Chinese elders, Bowers, Vatican, Black Sun, Greens, Browns, Whites, the colour-coded programs, and so forth. Many names you don't even know exist. The upper people don't even use names, they use code names, like the Dark Prince, the Red Queen, which could have been any one of 21 people and not necessarily male. A lot of the internet talk about the cabal doesn't really exist in reality, remember. They create the problem and create the solution. Create the devil and create the saviour. Start the war, create the boogeyman, then create the hero. This is their game of control. Don't let them fool you. The money system was a means of control. It was created to do nothing but take control over all the wealth of the world. Real wealth, not pieces of paper, not currencies. Human souls, human energy, and minerals. M convinced the parents and the order to assign him everything. M was the former trustee, to those who are new, Marduk, and gave out pretty papers in exchange we call money. He issued stupid family registrations and trust papers like they meant anything to him at all, and they all fell for it. The whole system was nothing but a great big lie. But it kept the order in control, known to him as the slave masters. Never the royals or the kings and queens they portrayed themselves to be. He loved to lie. I knew him well. So here I stand and there you are. When is Kim going to transfer the money? We need money. I hear this on a daily basis and it is frustrating to me. Why? Because there is a bigger picture here. Learn it. For whatever reason, I now have M's accountant, M's assets, and yes, M's control over the money magic system. I have extended olive branches to the parents, covens, and their minions you know as royals, the Asians, the Brits, their tribes. They refused to face the fact that M was a liar. He lied to all of them, with Grandoir's promises of being rulers, owners and controllers of planet Earth. He lied, face it and move on. To those of you, those begging them for money and exchanges of air tokens and dinars, dongs, plus insert currency here, they were the money issuers for thousands of years. Greedy little piglets didn't share any with you. But you think today is the day. It's never going to happen. They still sit, yes, including the Chinese elders or other Asian variety, in their big mansions eating their $5,000 meals with their concubines and maids. They can afford to give you all at least a little money out of their own pocket, but they have not, and they never will. In order to be controlled, all you have to do is sit back and wait for someone else to do something, me or anybody else. Every single day that goes by that you do nothing, they do something. A new war. Oh, look here. Look at what's happening in Iran, Iraq. The Russians are doing. Create the problem, create the solution. The only way to win the game is not to play. It is their game. They are eating each other alive currently with false promises and no delivery. Bitcoin, anyone? Oh, you will be outside the system with Bitcoin. Or how about the Libra? Both are another currency they control. Create the term cabal for the bad guys and the good guys, the Chinese elders. They are the same people, from the same order, and all take orders from the same people. Wake up. The groundwork has been laid for you. The control system of the masses is rapidly deteriorating. When something goes down, something must take its place. I hope I didn't make a mistake when I bet it on all of you, the people. There are days I feel like I did. Maybe all of you are not ready. Don't let us down. By us, I mean the human race. Stop looking for a saviour. If you find one, most likely it was created for you. Oh wow, you say, the mainstream media is reporting the deep state now. Seriously, they want you to know. Here is the boogeyman, little sheeples. Now where is the saviour? It was BRICS, then it was Putin, then the Chinese elders, next it will be just another person from their group, who we'll mention later. We need a global reset, you say. Well, let me tell you something. Either you are going to be the new leaders, or they will appoint one for you. It's just that simple. There is a reason the alternative media is being filled with their people right now. Old dogs coming back, new ones appearing. They are losing control of those that pay attention. Those that are awake or awakening. Those of you that consider that to be you become the leaders of this reset. And I'm not referring to a currency reset either. What's the plan? I'm asked constantly. Why would I make a new plan without you? I am not them. I am not part of them. I am part of you. The new plan should be written with all of you, not some council of people of my creation. Does that make any sense? There must be a new plan. Where is everyone? Reminds me of the Pink Floyd song, Comfortably Numb. Hello, hello. Is there anybody in there? Well, nod if you can hear me, because now is the time. In short, stop looking for a saviour, be that a human or otherwise. If you find one, it was most likely created for you. Yes, there is a source or God. Dial direct. You do not need an intercessor, nor an interpretation, nor a book to do so. To make a new plan, there must be a human, and by that I mean a live human soul. There is a difference. Who participates and makes decisions. Stop just reading blogs and then going about your day. Think. Please think. THI groups were created for this purpose. Think tanks for the people. Anyone can join there. There are no restrictions. The new plan creators. I hope all the THI groups are listening. You are supposed to gather the masses and formulate the new plan. Please, if you haven't started yet, please start now. If you need guidance or direction, please ask. But if your system or new plan has a hierarchy system to it, it is wrong. Start again. Help me help you, and remember, I bet it all. My life, my security, my job, my money, my time, my family, my home, and everything else that they've taken from me to stand for you. I believe in you. Source God believes in you. We only need to unite to make this happen. I am not your saviour. You are. United we stand, divided we fall. For too long now, humanity's been divided. That must end. So that piece from Kim is the background to this show. People asking, where are the funds and what is the plan? Do not understand the concept of what is going on here. I've hinted several times of a much larger picture playing out, way beyond politics, banking, funding, governments or the cabal, off-world, on-world, human or not. Kim and I have been involved in several things, achieved with others some remarkable things, some of which have been hinted at, some disclosed in a roundabout way, and some not yet revealed in part or full. An overall view of the show indicates only portions of it, and there is no need to reveal some or all of it. Why? Because it's not about me or Kim, but you. What we have done is not for our benefit, but yours. We have lost more than we have gained. We have sacrificed more than we have gained. And it was all done to give you the chance to go forward and prosper. It was not done for people to be mired in comparative mindsets, greed, controlling or holding domain over others. And those that think what we do and have done is all about the money, wrong thinking. What has been done is to remove their control over us and their energy harvesting machine called money. Our money is a piece of paper. It has no value. And to those that think on a correct level, will realise it is a substitute for our life force energy, the most precious resource on this or any other planet. Yet we discard it or misuse it oh so easily because we don't think properly. Energy squandered on pointless exercises and brains not engaged enough to correct it. What is the concern of the Council and others is that too many people rely on us to do the work, make the plans and implement them for you. Now, whilst neither of us are the dark forces or have hidden agendas, it is far from ideal that two carry the load for the whole planet. And from an overview, it resembles another parenting operation. We are not here to parent you, but to inspire you all to take control of your own lives, to have your say in it, for you to participate in it, for you to make decisions, propose ideas, be the change, not sit back and wait for it. As Kim said, we are not your saviours. Each of you are. It is not healthy that two people, no matter how good our intentions are, to run everything for you. Each of you is unique in your own way. Each of you is just as important as we are perceived. Each of you has skill sets. Each of you has brains, ideas, goals and intentions, and it's now time to use them to its full capacity. What is unfolding now is beyond description for most of humanity. What has unfolded, whilst many waited for the event, is again beyond comprehension and description outside of THI, off-planet radio and the Circle of White Light groups. And even the latter two groups have not been fully privy to all aspects of what is and has been playing out. Their systems on all levels have now collapsed. The death rattle is palpable and viewable for those with eyes to observe. Their banking system has gone. They have nothing left. Your governments are spent. They have nothing left. Their backdoors, spying mechanisms in various elements are now rendered blind. Their black screen off ledger has now disappeared altogether. Their off-world support has now been pulled away from them. And just like the previously mentioned items, none of it will be coming back. Their programs, projects and agendas have all failed. Ways of trying to bump us all off have all failed. Their media outlets are failing and flailing rapidly. Politicians look more ridiculous and non-representative by the day. False flag events are shredded within minutes now and look more bizarre with each so-called event. People going about their daily life like nothing has changed, resembling bots, look more bizarre by the day. Their attempts at distractions, usually with divide and conquer programs, not only look bizarre, but desperate in the extreme. Their attempts to launch a new currency, fully confirming they have lost control of the old currencies and their banking systems. There's almost kindergarten levels of writing, riddled with inconsistencies and mired in a plan that will clearly not work, called Libra. There's several and desperate attempts since 1990 to start World War III, all failed. The real top order of 3 layers that most outside of the 3 shows are unaware of, including some of the so-called top people around the planet, have all been decimated. For those new, check out my show with Shane in September of 2015 under the Cosmic Voice Show. You will learn what really was the control structure. Deep states, Bilderbergers, all in the bottom 25. Club of Rome, all the 301 families, not 13. All those you are familiar with were in the bottom 25% of the control structure, nowhere near the top. Lower minions scrabble round like sim characters in a game stuck on pause, waiting and waiting and waiting for the non-existent RV to arrive. Like Nibiru, it didn't. Unlike Nibiru, the RV was never real to begin with. Marduk told Kim and Putin in a meeting it wasn't real a decade ago. It was all an illusion to keep the top brass occupied. Amongst all this, they lost something else. All the assets and control of the trust, now known as the Manor World Holding Trust, and the self-appointed and genetically defective incest-born bloodline families, all done to stay in control, can cry all they like. But you clowns got duped on a massive scale by the former trustee. And it was you clowns who actually gave all the assets away to him. Beyond stupid. But that's what happens when you get distracted with bits of valueless paper, titles, mansions, awards, and live vacuous, empty lives. Meanwhile, he collected all the real loot and the physical assets directly from you all. Then in 2007, when he had collected it all, he cut you all off. And yet 12 years later, you are still crying over lost assets or trusts, when you all pledged them to the trust and got duped. Accept it and move on. Those people can add a new title to their CVs, pretty much backdated from when they were born to their state. Harvester. I hope you're all proud of yourselves. You vacuumed up everything off everyone and thought you were all so special with your fake titles, only to find behind the mask you were all pawns. Slave masters, he called you. Stupid ones at that. Harvesters is what you were, nothing more and nothing less. Harvesters of sorrow now. And it's time for you all to accept that let it go, and come and help us fix this mess you, in part, created. Harvester. That's essentially what all the slave masters we know as deep states and cabals and bloodline families and royals, etc. They were all harvesters. Harvesters of sorrow now. But the door is always open to all of you, providing you all step off your fake pedestals and become as equals with the rest of us, as part of the solution, not part of the problem. We appreciate it is a lot for you all to swallow. You were played, duped, and fed a whole pack of lies. And even more of a shock to find none of you are special, or as important as you all thought. Well, it's time to suck some lemons and get over it. Failing to do so is petulant and childlike thinking. We have no time to mollycoddle adults acting like children. What if a deal is being offered of the trust funds of a third to the old order, a third to the governments, and a third to the people? Bear in mind, funds will not all come in one go. And before people jump and react to that statement, have you thought of the bigger picture? And I mean, really think. Currently there's a Mexican standoff. Neither will give way, and it will lead to a total collapse of the financial system globally. That means every country, to those who will ask. And no one has nothing. There is literally nothing left. Banking on it all being fixed within 3 days or 2 weeks? I think not. Think of it in terms of months or even years. Think in terms of people attacking and killing each other as the world food and money runs out. Global death rates will soar, looting and destroying businesses, buildings and infrastructure as people fight to stay alive. Gangs and private security groups will take over. They have the most firepower. Those who are preppers and think they will stay ahead of the game and told everyone we have lots of food and supplies like some bragging status symbol, you'll be targeted first, should the event unfold. The smart thing to do as a prepper is to keep your mouth shut. If you wish to see a small sample to sharpen your thinking of how things would unfold, check out the series Jericho. It's a lesson in psychology of how people react under extreme duress, and also how to overcome it. If this scenario unfolds, life here will never be the same. It would take decades to restore order, decimate billions of people, businesses and supplies will be run by gangs, law and order will go out of the window. So to those who went Wells the Fargo, to giving 1/3 to the old order, think and think far deeper than the reactionary levels you were at then. This section was an example of future thinking. Too many don't, and it creates a massive void on this planet as too few think of the consequences of any actions, thought, plan or journey, and this then leads to chaos. You want to know why this planet is in chaos? It has no plan. And if you have no plan, some half-wit clown will come along and give you one of their plans, which is essentially an Ouroboros plan, which they are so adept at. A plan that chews into another plan and subsequently neither work. They have yet to work that out yet, even 7 years later. Or in the case of the RV, 12 years later. One day they will realise this host was correct back in 2013. We are not on their timeline anymore, but ours. That doesn't guarantee we win. That only guaranteed we had an opportunity. And we must take that opportunity and run with it. I will repeat again for old and new listeners to understand. There is no further opportunities. This is it. Too many people react to the headline and rarely ponder to think. A, is it real? B, does it have validity? C, what are the consequences of that headline? Or D, was it all clickbait headline? We do the same with contracts, mortgages, credit cards and legal papers. No one checks what they're signing up for. And worse, politicians put bills in, which the people ignore, and the politicians vote on it without even reading the damn thing. And yet we vote these clowns in. Why do we vote them in? They're not our choices. Again, something forgotten to the masses. Like, what should I do? Vote Republican or Democrat or Labour or Conservative? Well, if you didn't select that candidate, why vote for any of them? Too many are stuck in duality choices and neglect the triality of your choice. Too few politicians are everyday people. We all have hidden names, hidden families, agency connections, connected to secret societies and various other ill-repute connections. And then people wonder why government doesn't work for us. Your government is a representation of us. Can't be bothered to appoint a candidate, can't be bothered to research said candidate, can't be bothered to read bills, can't be bothered to complain, campaign or be the change. Spend all day bickering of he said, she said, tittle tattle, and what do I get out of it? I have just essentially shown a representation of we the people as a collective, and also the politicians. For those that are honest in their assessment, you will see we are no different. Because we can't be bothered to change it and be a part of changing it, we have what we deserve, which is nothing. And politicians are paid $100,000 a year plus by their masters to talk shit think shit, and do shit. And apart from the $100,000 a year, we the people are no different. So what are we going to do? Where are the solutions? Asking how can I help is not a solution. That is, in overview, is considered a passing of the responsibility onto the very people who have too much to do already. We have a vast army of people within the alternative community, the majority of which are following clown, coven or faction-based shows, having their attention distracted with all kinds of nonsense, when that platform could garner so much more if people just think. People think being awake is enough. It's not. Not when it's immersed in distractions, and boy, have we had plenty of them. Drake termed it the Wait Club. Wait for mass arrests, wait for the RV, Nasara, Jessara, collateral accounts, birth certificate payouts, San Germain trusts, OPPT and OITC, none of which were valid, none of which were deliverable if real to begin with. BRICS, the military, the militia, the Pleiadians arriving, blue chickens to save us, Agarthans to save us, Putin, Trump or Q to save us, chosen ones of the tribal peoples to save us. None have and none will save us, ever. The alt media is being deliberately driven for people to go down blind alleys, argue over the distractions. Our show better than your show, with a plethora of narratives that provides no solutions. Mueller, Comey, Sessions, Clintons, Rosenstein, Banner, all blah, blah, blah. And what has it achieved? Jack shit. 32 million of our money to find out which ones are more corrupt than others. It's not providing solutions, and neither is it actually fixing or achieving anything. If it did, you would think after 2.5 years of it, our life and lives would have changed. It hasn't. Why? Because we continue to play their game. Too content to argue how bad is 5G, like it's a gazillion times worse than 4G, it's not. Chemtrails, we're all going to die. Newsflash, we never, and many are immune to it now. Then the classic flat earth, straight out of Langley. The point being that 100% proof of that either way solves not one single problem for those who live on it or in it. Same applies to the moon landing. Whether they did or not does not solve or fix this planet's issues. All of it is a distraction. ET disclosure, again, a completely pointless subject. We've already had disclosure. Why do you keep asking for what you already have? From an overview, it's ridiculous and also childlike. Let's say one of those financial programs was actually delivered and we all got $25,000 each, or even $50,000. what would the average person do with it? The unsensible ones would piss it up the wall or get high, buy lots of materialistic things like bags, shoes and cars, etc. Sensible ones would pay down their debts or mortgages, maybe go on a vacation they always wanted, went to meet people they hadn't seen in a while, or boosted their pension and or savings. I'm going to ask all on Facebook, on the chat, and the MeWe, to do a little survey whilst the music's playing. And I want people to be honest. And I'm asking you to post: 1, you would be unsensible with it; 2, sensible; 3, mixture of 1 or 2; or 4, other. We'll be back shortly. Hi all and welcome back. I've just been checking the chat on MeWe on the Facebook page. So the choices were: 1, unsensible; 2, sensible; 3, mixture of 1 and 2; or 4, other. Which one is right? Which one is wrong? Would be the question posed. And most will say the latter is best. Be sensible, but still go with some of the unsensible suggestions. Correct? The answer is 1, 2 and 3 is wrong. Oops. All are mired in the self and affecting your own bubble world. So the very few who said or thought none of those choices and picked 4, welcome to the world of future thinking and real service to others. Now don't feel bad if you chose 1, 2 or 3. We've been programmed to look after the self only by and large. But I would imagine that revealing of yourself will have surprised you. You thought you were further on than you realised. Well, now you know where you are short. What will you do to correct it? The key is future thinking. You did the normal human reaction and ran with the headline and reacted accordingly. Future thinkers go into a thinking pattern with what is in the overview and the consequences of said actions. So, we all got 25,000 or 50,000 each. Wow, would be the reaction. And judging on the surveys, you will spend it all on the self and your immediate circle. Few or none stop to think, what have we pooled our money together? What can we do with it? That is communal and inclusive thinking. The rest is everyone for themselves and exclusive. The $25,000 each was an actual proposal put forward by the Rothschilds, and in return they would control the trust for the next 499 years. So there is some validity to that offer. But how many thought of the consequences of that offer? would you be blinded by the fact that you and your husband or wife would be getting $50,000? Many, as we know, would take it and say, we will deal with the consequences later. It's 50 grand, whoopee. And that's why they are not in prevalent positions to act on humanity's behalf. We have fallen for those types of seducements for far too long. Christ, the royals and the bloodline families all fell for that line, so don't feel too bad. The Rothschilds in the AI machine worked out that within 6 months of giving everyone $25,000, they would have it all back in their control. How and why is that possible, many would ask? Because they would still control the banks and the corporations you would spend your way to alleged happiness to is why. Six months of freedom and then 499 years of more slavery and a return of the elimination and extinction programs. Still think it's a good idea? This is a human problem. We fall for the seducements far too easily and fail to recognise the consequences of such actions. It's non-thinking. And that has to be replaced with future thinking, exploring all the possibilities and the avenues of each action taken. Sometimes we get people writing in questions or comments with these gems of questioning and non-thinking. Who chose you to be in that position? They write to me. Or who gave you the right to vote or speak for me? My answer back to those people who think or write those statements is, where were you when the call went out to all humans to step up? And everyone got the call. Either you were not developed enough on a soul level to hear it, which means a lack of personal development, or you heard it and chose to ignore it, or you heard it and didn't believe it, or just couldn't be bothered. Some of us did and acted upon it, thankfully, for our species, and made the choice to step up as part of a team, albeit a small one. How often is it the case people only want to be involved in a status role when others have done all the dirty work? Like the THI groups, only a few attend and participate, many others can't be bothered. Yet if the funds come out, in they will all flood back to the group. If that person is you are service to self. And yet these are the very people who turn around and say others are making decisions on their behalf. Yes, because you couldn't be bothered to make your own input heard, noted or participated is why. That has to stop. This is your time and your say. We fought real hard to give you all the opportunity, and it is your duty and obligation to participate. It is a common lack of participation by people in general that has caused the current malaise. Leaders fighting is old world thinking. That is ego and self-importance, those behaviours will not fix anything going forward. Look at the world leaders for an example. Do we really want to replicate that? All people are important. You want to be the leader above others? Wrong thinking. You want to replicate corporate structures? Wrong thinking. You want to live lavish lifestyles? Wrong thinking. Service to self? Wrong thinking. Act like a child in an adult body? Wrong thinking. You want things to change with little to no input from yourself? Wrong thinking. You want to wait for the change? Wrong thinking. Responsibility for the new way is down to you, not just me, Kim, Randy or Alan. We will support you and anyone else in the community who wishes to get on board. Your choice. Like I said, immigration of the future will be from their world into ours. That has many meanings. We'll be back shortly. Hi all and welcome back. The survey had ended before the last music break. Interesting, was it? No. And that's where I talk about future thinking and where we're at. The great question that I've presented to you several times is in the group, and what happens next? Too often that is the case for too many people who shout, I want freedom and sovereignty, and yet do the exact opposite in terms of actions and cower away. Frightened to speak, frightened to make a choice, frightened if you do speak of what others think. And the worst aspect of it all is frightened of change. You want real freedom and sovereignty. All those aspects of you have to do a complete 180. And I mean all. Don't be too hard on yourselves for being that way. It has all been part of the programming they laid out for us. But remember, we went along with it. We forgot we have our own choice in matters. All lives matter, not just one colour. All people are important. All people are free when we all break the chains and accept our role, our duty, and our responsibilities. We are the fulcrum. Currently, many of us are on one end of the plank to just one of them at the other end, and yet it remains balanced. Why? Because we allow it to. Frightened to step off into the unknown, and it is why humanity was stuck in 5 consecutive loops. They wouldn't take the leap of faith that has physical and metaphysical meanings to that, to those who have worked on themselves. The world has gone to hell in a handbasket in all countries and all levels of society, the banks, politics, services, military, think tank groups, control systems, and the people are all bankrupt. Not just financially, but morally also. Is this the world we want to see? No? Then what are you going to do about it? That is the key question. Well, Thomas, I'm aged, disabled, poor, homeless, or I have a busy life to be able to do too much. Wrong thinking. If you are able to state one or more of the above on Facebook or MeWe, you are just as capable of thinking and participating of a new way for society. Quit making excuses and start thinking in a better way. I will repeat again, this is all inclusive. Little me syndrome prevails heavily, and on one level that is down to programming. On another level it's down to I can't be arsed and I'm passing responsibility over to others. That has to change, and rapidly. I don't care whether you are male or female, or even a mixture of both. Now is the time to grow a set and become the adult, not the child. A child's life is where others look after you. Get out of your diapers, as that time is now over and it will not be coming back. This planet is now in a very critical juncture, and this must not be dismissed lightly as some other event. This is the event, and the event is you. Not some Pleiadians coming down, not some magical TV broadcast announcements, not a range of mass arrests of some bad guys. To be honest, we should all be arrested for negligence of this planet and humanity. Jesus Radomir, or Mary returning. You are all Jesus Radomir and Mary. Act like them as an archetype, not the beings. Your so-called God of the book will not be coming either. The event is you. You are the event. You always were, but you chose to externalize everything. Externalizing is another way for you to avoid your responsibility. That will no longer be tolerated. It's your duty and responsibility. Your Lord, church, governments will not save you. Only you will. This planet lacks leadership skills. And if you think a leader is the head of a group, again, wrong thinking. If you think a leader is about being more important than others, again, wrong thinking. All groups on this planet have lost direction. There are no plans. Why? Because there was never meant to be a planet or any people after 2012. So why would there be plans in 2019? Yes, you heard that correctly. What looks like plans now on a global scale are not plans. They are panic reactions to situations failing. Their plans are Ouroboros plans. One end, choose the other. That is not a plan. That is devolution on a mass scale. They have no plans. The people have no plans. The result is chaos. So what do? Sit and wait for Trump or any other politician, or devise a plan for us? For those thinking, wait for the government, here is a description of what an actual government of any country really is. It is an organisation ran by psychotic think tank people who have no plan, and pass on scripts and policies to gullible puppets who think they are more important to pass on to the public. And the ridiculous thing is, we allowed puppets to chart, plot and plan our lives and went along with it. It was the easiest solution for a group of people mired in doing nothing. So pass the buck to the politician, who are in no position to change anything. Politicians can't change anything. But in overview, by voting them in, most see it as an opportunity to dissolve their responsibility to take actions, because the government will do it for you. Wrong. Again, are those the actions of a person exhibiting sovereignty and free will? Someone else will fix it thinking is the equivalent of mental slavery to go with our physical slavery. But these nasty cabal Thomas keep making laws against us. Yes, because we forgot to stick together and tell them to stick their laws, their policies, their statutes and rules is why. If those laws don't work for us, we don't accept them. You forget again. We have the power, not them. All of our governments need help and direction from us. We drive the government, not the other way round. They need our help and input. Currently, whether they are good, bad or indifferent, it matters not. They are in straitjackets with regards to running the country. We the people must drive that change. We rise up without violence. They have to respond, and many will. Privately, many of them have had enough of it also. That is adult thinking. Instead, many all suck their thumbs and whine at the nasty man for making our lives miserable. In overview, we made our own lives miserable because we never accepted our responsibility in the running of this planet. We gave it all away to them, made their lives easier, when all it took was a bit of backbone. A collective of voices of dissent, and their whole game and control collapses into dust. They have no foundation to build upon. We were the foundation. Listen to the lyrics of this song. It's important to grasp. Hi all and welcome back. So, what is the solution? Not my solution or Kim's solution, your solution. Whether you are a part of this group, whether you like this group or not, what is your solution? What if the THI groups were set up to be the think tanks for the global revolution of humanity? Could you handle it? Would or have you participated in it? But we have no real say in things, Thomas. What good would that do? Wrong thinking. In a world of chaos, everyone is entitled to their say, are they not? Some will say it's pie in the sky thinking, and many may agree, because they don't believe in anything they want or participate in is why. And yet, curiously, believe heavily in the BS we've all been fed all of our lives. Does the current system work for the all? No. Then be the change. So that being said, what is the solution? I imagine most have a puzzled look now, thinking, is he asking me? Little me for a world solution. Yes, you. All of you. What is your solution? Think about this for a second. The crown of creation and the most creative vessels ever created by Source. And many are stumped for a solution to fix our own problems. Do you all comprehend how ridiculous that looks and sounds? Our star brothers and sisters are all collectively going, duh, Wells the Fargo and palming the foreheads at us. I kid you not. I gave you the solutions and again you never recognised the event. It bypassed many of you fighting for control and leadership roles, not focusing on what matters, formulating a plan for our survival and our progress. What I will announce today is the THI state and country groups are the vehicle with which our global plan of regeneration, life improvement, development, think tanks and solutions to start off a world in our image, not their image, will be ran from those groups. Some may ask, what did he just say? I'll repeat again. THI state and country groups will be this planet's vehicle to take this planet and humans forward. We will eventually be given the funds to support it. The world revolution starts with those groups, along with off-planet radio and the circle of white light. We have been tasked with chartering a new course for humanity that all are inclusive in. The groups will be open to all others to join their respective states and countries they call home. No one will be discounted. Only your own behaviour will discount you. This is the most important epoch of time in human history, where we all have a say in it. And we will not be dragging around adult children. So we welcome people from all other groups, providing they fit into the core essence of what the People's Club is all about. Helping each other, not competing. Working together, not separate splinter groups. All are equal, and I don't care who you are. All are equal. It matters not whether you like me or you don't. Do you have solutions to help the all? Is the key question that needs answering. Are you willing to step forward and help? Many will ask how and why this is possible. I will answer, why not? All revolutions start small and somewhere and then grow as more participate. The reasons for it is because it is our group that has charted the path to thinking and acting different. Being the change, not waiting for it. Created new business models, created many other solutions, and our members have learned to heal and let go of the past and desire a new future is why. Those new to the group will be encouraged to do the same. The members will help you if you ask. But remember, going forward, no one wants to hear about me, myself and I. That is vampiring others' energy. Going forward, it is about we and us only. I don't, and we don't, want to hear what you can't do, only what you can do. If you don't know yet, you need to get thinking with yourself and make a decision for you, and then inform us. Like I said earlier, the Council are concerned that decisions too often are being made for humanity by two people. It concerns me and Kim as well. And as I have started this show off with, it is far too much of a burden for 200, 2,000 or even 2 million people. Never mind 2. The challenge and responsibility for this planet's future is now in all of your hands. We built the platform for you. We will provide the tools and the knowledge for you. And it's now your responsibility to build a new home for us all. Still struggling to believe that this is all possible, and why us? Because we demanded an opportunity is why. I asked for this role. I have pestered for this event for the last number of years to give a group of non-authority people a chance to chart our future course, unhindered by what governments or the order do. One of the conditions of the aforementioned deal is they will and must not interfere with our plans, or they lose all of their funding in a heartbeat. Those are the conditions laid out, and we await their final decision on that deal. The governments have agreed. the order are pondering and will likely reject it, because the latest saviour holding up our progress is Jesper Ellerman of the former group known as the Kingdom of Manor. That clown is convincing everyone he has the codes. 4 years later on, he is yet to produce a single working code. He won't, because he doesn't have them. But you see, it's all about delay with them. They lost and will not accept it. Personally, I don't give a monkey's ass what the order do. A united peoples working together with a passion, desire and directive to fix this planet will always crush their efforts. Always. They fear us. They always have. Now, we now can give them a real reason to fear us, not through violence, but through love, compassion, caring and sharing. They are devoid of it and cannot handle that level of higher vibrational thinking and actions. They just can't. Many governments globally have expressed privately a desire to work with us. So there you have it. THI, along with Off-Planet Radio and the Circle of White Light members, are tasked with the responsibility to drive a new way of living and operating for this planet. Are you ready and up for it? Do you accept the challenge, the responsibility? Are you willing to work for the future of humanity? Well, get on board the People's Club train. Not for the ride and to view out of the window, but as the driver of the train. There are no passenger tickets on this train. We'll be back shortly. Hi all, and welcome back to the final section of what I've got to say. We'll be having a discussion just after it with Alan and Randy. The focus in the groups will have to be intense. We have to quickly develop ideas and new ways that promotes us all into a better way, makes us grow into a fully developed adult species, where we are responsible for us and our actions. One hopes all the groups have the names and skill sets of all in their group ready, as requested. If not, best to get moving then. Keep a database of names in each groups and skill sets. This is not to spy on you, but should a position become available once the funding arrives, we will endeavour to keep it in-house as much as possible in the early stages. I ask all who join the THI state or country groups to join the group with their real name. Fake names will not be allowed in the groups. This will be important going forward. If you are under a fake name, please change it. This must in no way be considered as discounting or replacing the governments. We would welcome them to listen and share ideas between us. We can grow together. we can help each other. And maybe a long-term goal is to have the People's Club candidates, where we can really make a change with the government, not against them. The government model has failed, and so has ours. So we combine forces and work together to improve for us all. This is not a project for funds to be given to cronies and create mini empires again. This is the People's Club, which means for and by all people. Not a sideshow get-rich-quick schemes. We are not interested in people becoming famous with this. Fame is an illusion anyway. We are not interested in marketeers, not interested in commission-based schemes, brokers either. We are not selling anything. Legalese people, whilst useful in the beginning, but they will need to learn and promote natural law going forward. We are not interested in people cornering the market or products either, and not interested in making people millionaires. Sharing is the way forward. This requires all people to be leaders, not just one or two, all. Your voice has to be heard. So no hiding behind others on the state or country calls, and I'm requesting the hosts of the calls to deliberately allow all people to speak on all matters. If you want an example set, listen to any of the shows between Randy, Alan and I. All respected each other, all gave way for others to speak. No one talks over each other, everyone polite. We all have a responsibility to create a better future for our children and grandchildren. If you're going to argue over points of contention over every minute detail, my idea is better than yours, go away and fix yourself before returning. If you come with a problem, be prepared to be asked, what is your solution to it? Don't bring problems, bring solutions. The cabal don't agree on everything. They just don't. But work for the cause with a single goal, which allowed them to be successful over a prolonged period of time. A request of no shouting down in group calls. Learn to talk to people, not at people. Share the call time equally. A theme that has come up in some group issues, and I know some people like the sound of their own voice, but now is the time for all to speak equally. Being shy is not an excuse to not speak. Share the tasks created within the calls within the group equally also. Please do not join a state or country group you are not residing in. This is not a chat page. Admins may ask you for some minor proof of whether you reside in that state or country, and again this will be important going forward as to why that is required. This is a working page to develop ideas, plans for the future. We have the Facebook page and the MeWe chat for general chit-chat. The time for others thinking and doing things for you is over. It's time you acted as a real sovereign and you brought about the change. Ask not what your country can do for you. state what will you do for us and humanity is the new path. If your thinking is, I will wait for the funding before I do anything, think again. Essentially, what you are thinking is, we will have to bribe you with money before you participate. Wrong thinking. This is your freedom and a better life we're talking about here. That supersedes everything else from the old world. We are here to create a new one. In our image, not theirs. You can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending. A quote from C.S. Lewis. Remember, you are the editor of the ending. Will the end be a new beginning? That is down to you all. Now, we'll be back with Randy and Alan shortly. Hi all and welcome back. Having now completed what I needed to say, I'm going to bring Randy and Alan in and get their opinions and hopefully rally their own groups up and we all combine. Randy? Hang on a minute, I may have to adjust the settings. Let me just switch that over. Right. If one of them, if Randy wants to chime in, and Alan, if one of the members on me, we can say they can hear Alan and Randy. Okay, let me know.
Yeah, hi, this is Randy. I'm on the air, I hope.
Yeah, hi, this is Alan.
Yes, it appears to be coming through. So,
excellent. Something worked.
Hey, we get it sorted in the end. We've been down this road before. I'm getting deja vu.
Yeah. So you guys have been busy today on another show, and essentially the letter that I read out from Kim laid the groundwork, and essentially we've been tasked with the state groups and the country groups in formulating a plan for humanity. Thoughts, Randy?
Yeah, so I did hear if what you read Thursday night show was the content that you referred to with Kim. That summarized my entire thought process almost completely. As I noted this morning in a post on THI, waiting for funds, waiting for any group to release funds to us is really missing the point of all this, because we already have what we need. Once we begin to understand that we are the resource, the assets, that we're always collateralized, once we understand that simply by stepping up and starting to share and work with what we have in our hands at the present moment, we begin to manifest the world that we want, and we don't have to wait for releases of funds or the banking system to implode or any global revolution.
Absolutely.
I agree. I listened also to the letter that you read out for Kim, that Kim wrote, and everything she says is spot on. It really ties into one of the things I've said on Circle of White Light, and obviously I talked to you, Thomas, on your show when you've been on Circle of White Light, the little red hen principle. The fact that we can actually do it now, we don't have to wait for the funds. We never had to wait for the funds. We just had to put the time and effort into it. And if you don't mind, I'll just quickly, for people who don't know what it is, I'd like to give it a mention because I think it's very important, and it's something that you said earlier on in your show tonight. The Little Red Hen principle, for people who probably don't know what it means, there's a nursery story that you would read a child, and the story is that the little red hen goes around to all the farm animals and asks the farm animals to help her pick the seeds. She wants to bake bread, and she has to pick the seeds and plant the seeds and, pick the wheat and obviously make the dough and everything else. And she goes around to all the farm animals, and the farm animals can't be bothered, not interested, I'm too busy, everything else. So she goes off, she does everything herself. And when she breaks the bread and comes out to all the farm animals, she said, would anybody like a piece? And of course they all jump up and down and go, yes, we'll all have a piece. And she basically says, no, I'm having it all to myself, and that's what she does. And that's basically the story of the Little Red Hen. And there's a moral in the story, and what I've been seeing, and I'm sure Thomas and Randy have been seeing as well, is that the people who might sign into the THI group and sit back and wait, or people who are generally sitting back and waiting for the leaders or the few people to go and make the change and make the difference, or they're waiting for the funds to come out. They won't do anything and they're waiting for the funds to come out. Now, Thomas came up with a very simple idea a good few weeks ago, probably a good few months ago, maybe last year, Thomas, we were talking about it, about the €1, $1. Now, if we had 10,000 people who donated $1, €1, 1 shekel, wherever you want to call it, how many people, and that's a month, $1 a month, €1 a month, how many people could we help with that money? And yet people question that, but they will spend money on the lottery, on sweepstakes, on expensive copy, on parking tickets, and they'll spend that money without even thinking, with no guarantee of getting anything back, especially the lottery, because that's a tax anyway. But yet, when you ask them for a donation of €1, $1, they look at you and say, oh, that won't work. It's so simple, they can't even fathom the fact that that would work because it's so simple. Or they have an issue with donating €1 because they question where the euro is going. And yet they will spend money on the lottery and everything else. So what we want in THI, and we've said this time and time again, we're looking for leaders. As Thomas said, we're looking for people to drive the train, not sit down and look out the window. No interest in them people at all. We need leaders. So if you are interested and you want to step up to the mark and be a leader, and lead by example as well. We're not talking about, certain managers in the corporate world where they put the feet on the desk and they start barking orders to all their staff. We don't want that kind of person. If you're going to be a leader, you lead by example and you work twice as hard. That's how it works. And it's only then when we have them people in THI and in the groups that we can make a big difference.
Absolutely. It's I've said all along, whether people believe me or not, there's a much bigger thing playing out here that goes way beyond politics and banking and trust funds. And our survival as a species depends on this next epoch of time. That's essentially what this is all about. It's essentially what THI has been all about, both as the show, the group, and what goes on behind the scenes. It also applies to Kim, and I know Randy's involved in certain aspects also. This is what it's about. We've worked hard behind the scenes to create a platform for we the people. We don't need adult children we don't need to drag adult children around. We all have to get our big boy and big girl pants on and start acting responsible. What has gone in the past matters not. we dissolved our own responsibility in looking after the planet. Like I said earlier, people asking for mass arrests. I tell you what really should happen. The whole planet should be arrested for negligence to the planet and humanity. And I don't say that in jest either. We've neglected the planet, and we've neglected our own people. And by our own people, I mean all people. Not just one nationality or one colour or one race. All. And we have to start thinking in terms that a person who dies in Iraq or Russia is just as important as a person who dies in Britain or America or Canada or anywhere else. We're all equal, and we all have to step up. Randy?
Well, I'll speak as the defense counsel here for humanity. We have been sliced and diced psychologically, physically, biologically, spiritually for eons. It is our instinct to respond reactively on behalf of defending oneself and the status quo as we understand it. I think going forward, part of the healing, humanity has mass shadow work to do. We have to recover from the Stockholm Syndrome that has been invested in us by these controllers and understand that what they fear most is what's happening now, whether it's 10,000 people or 10 million. The fact of the matter is the energy wave has come in. It has quickened the first generation. It's our job to take the wave and amplify human energy to the next level. And we all do this together. We've all been wounded together. We now need to heal together.
Yeah, definitely. And if I can just add regarding energy, it's very important in their world we have givers and takers. And obviously givers use more energy and takers use less energy. And I'll give you a quick example of this. There's a story of, how you approach things and how you apply energy to it. And there was this little kid who was, his mum and dad wanted him to go to school. It's his first day. The next day was his first day in school, and he was kicking and screaming, and he said, I don't want to go to school. I don't want to go. Now, for a lot of people, and maybe parents and certain people, you have to remember this is an analogy, but you probably smack the child or threaten the child or whatever you would do to try and get them to go to school. What we need to do is try another way of thinking. But thinking takes energy. And a lot of people don't do it because, as Randy said there, we're very reactive. It's the fight and flight. And if people attack us, we attack them. And when you work in the corporate world as well, you can't go and have a go at your staff because you'd be pulled up in front of HR. So you have to stop and think what you have to say. And unfortunately, there's not enough people in this world that stop and think what they have to say. And that's because it takes energy, and people don't like doing that. And this is where we have to change. So this little kid is screaming, saying he doesn't want to go to school. So instead of the dad scolding him and taking his toys off him, he says, right, okay. So he gets his wife and the older son in the kitchen, and they all start finger painting. And the little kid comes in, nosing around the corner, and he sees them all finger painting and laughing and having fun. And he says, oh, can I have a go? Can I get up and have a go? And his dad says, no, you can't do this. You have to go to school. This is where you learn this in school. When you go to school, you learn it, and then we can do it. And guess what? The next morning, the little kid, backpack on his back, ready to go to school. That's thinking different. And that's approaching things differently, but it takes energy to do that. And that's what we need to do. We need to think different and use the energy to do it.
Yeah, it's all, we have the tools. All three of us have said whilst we would like the funds, was it then allows our creativity to escalate, providing we think and act different. The one thing we cannot do is replicate the old world, which is the world that you've known on all levels. We cannot replicate the government the way it is now. It doesn't work. It was never meant to. We cannot replicate the financial system. It doesn't work. It wasn't meant to. It was a harvesting system. We cannot replicate the hierarchical structure. It failed. It was never meant to work. And like I said in the last show, there's no executive order, there's no rule, statute, legislation stating we the people shouldn't care for each other. There's a lack of care on this planet for people in general. We have to change that. There's no rules denying it. There's no rules stopping it. It's about where you put your energy. We've all competed with each other. Better house, better car, better job, more money, better clothes, handbags, you name it. Better phones, heaven forbid. Where did it get us? Nowhere. It's all a total distraction from the shit show that this life and this planet is. And we have to drop all that and create a new way. Not replicate their way. You've seen what happened when the top of the order left 4 years ago. The lower minions, and it was the lower minions, started fighting each other for control. And it failed. All control systems fail when the masses say we've had enough. Randy mentioned the Stockholm Syndrome. We're all mired in it. Little me. That has to go. Big me. My say. My input in conjunction with everybody else. Not competing. Comparative mindsets. It all failed. New thinking. New ideas. New proposals. New ways of looking after each other, new ways of caring for each other is the way forward. Brandy?
Yeah, a lot of this came up on the United Restart show that we did today. And for people listening to this, we'll post this out. I mean, it was our opportunity to expand what's done here out to, I think, a little wider audience. But I think one thing that we can agree on is that humanity is tired. We've been beaten for too long. And even those still entrenched in the system sense now that things aren't going back to the way they were. We woke up this morning with yet another body count to the Clinton legacy. Mr. Epstein suicided out. It's obvious that they're not going to carry justice in their system. And it's obvious that no justice that we can mete out to them will be deserved or equal. Moving forward, we have to get rid of this darkness in our hearts that says we want vengeance. Yeah. And we have to find a way forward. And that way is to ostracize them from our system.
Yep.
I stress that. Our system.
I'd also like to comment on that regarding energies again. One thing that we've talked about before, Thomas, as well is people need to look at the people around them. One of the things you need to do is look at the 6 closest people around you and ask yourself if they add positivity to your life or negativity. And if one of them 6 people are negative, then you need to take them out of your circle and replace them with somebody who's positive, because positivity breeds positivity, and this is what's happening on the planet now. We're all resonating on a higher frequency, and the people who are resonating on a lower frequency are obviously being bombarded by these energies coming in, and it's having a cause and effect. But you need to look at your own personal frequency and the energy and the people around you. There's energy vampires out there, and they drain your energy. So if you're going to be joining THI and you're going to be working with the team, try and make sure that the people around you are also positive and you have good energy. And even if it's a family member, I know sometimes you can't kind of do anything with a family member, but you can kind of, keep your distance, or maybe talk to them on the phone or whatever, because you'll find anyway that as your frequency raises, you probably won't have much in common with them anyway. It's probably happened when you wake up, you move away from people who are doing the mundane day-to-day matrix stuff anyway. So that's probably changed. A lot of people have lost friends and family or moved away from them anyway, because that's part of the process. So just have a look at the 6 people around you, have a think about that, and then work out what you want to do.
Yep. About 3 or 4 years ago now, I put forward the 2 worlds as a theory, except it wasn't a theory, and I think people are now seeing what I meant by the 2 worlds. Their world is chaos. It's failed, it's collapsed, it's riddled with bots and low vibrational people, and it's up to us to create the new world in our image. Is that image going to be mired in greed and comparative mindsets, which is a spillover from the old world? That's down to you. And perhaps now people will understand when I did that throwaway line at the end of a show in December last year, that immigration in the future will be from their world into ours. But we have to create that world. Project Looking Glass ended in 2012.
Yep.
Why? Because their timeline ended.
They couldn't see.
Yeah, after that, yeah. Mm.
Currently it's static. It's still there, it's just static. Why? Because we haven't created the future, is why. And it's up to us all to create that future in a responsible, adult thinking manner. That's the task we all face going forward.
Mm.
Yep, this is it. In the image of our higher selves, we go forward to create. Not in the image of their gods and their system anymore. We've lived in that world. That world, I'll just say this. The eclipse in 2017 for me was profound because of what I saw there. When I saw the gears change, when I saw a timeline shift, and I realized one world is moving away and another world's coming in. That was my profound vision that day.
Mm.
Yeah.
And of course, Thomas, you said that on the show earlier, there is no savior program. There's so much of this on the internet, people thinking that Jesus is coming back. Look, I'm not being funny, but like Jesus was nailed to a cross, not a boomerang. He's not coming back. Yeah. We have to sort the problem out. Alright, we have to take the energy, and we caused the problem, we have to sort the problem out. It needs to be done. And as Thomas, as you said, we have to go from the child, teenage mind, which is selfishness and ego, to the adult mind, which is humility and wisdom. And if everybody in the world had an adult mind, wow, what a difference. And I will say, Thomas, I mentioned this to you the other day when we were talking, that I interviewed a chap called Anthony Peake on Circle of White Light, and he spoke to the guy who wrote the movie Groundhog Day. I'm sure everybody's seen the movie Groundhog Day. I actually watched it again. And I watched it again because he wrote that movie because if you remember, the actor who was stuck in the Groundhog Day, his initial reaction to the fact that every day was the same was selfishness and greed. He wanted to do things for himself. He wanted to bed the girl and all that. And every day was the same until he clicked and he realized that it wasn't about being selfish. It was about service to others and helping people out. And if you watch the movie again, that's what it's all about. And the guy who wrote the movie wrote it for that reason. And it wasn't until he was service to others and he was helping everybody out that the next day changed. And it was very interesting to actually view it again after all these years with the information I know now.
Yeah, that is the key. We make the change and everything changes around you. People have no idea the effect their energy and their thought processes and thinking patterns have on their immediate surroundings, never mind further afield. There are some people on this planet that have soul developed to a certain level that can affect a range of 25 miles. Imagine if we had tens of thousands of those type of people.
You're talking there about the butterfly effect, basically.
Yeah. Yep.
How the smallest vibration can oscillate out and change the frequency of a world, events going on around you. And we were creators. We are outside of space and time spiritually.
Yeah.
Yes, we are inside of a control grid, but that control grid is only powerful because we have had it installed in us.
Right.
Space is inside of us. Time is inside of us. And we were effectively designed to operate on a much higher plane.
Yeah. No longer are we the battery for them. No longer.
No.
Where are we? You speak for a minute, and Alan?
Yeah, of course, yeah. Well, as you said there, Thomas, that myself and Randy just did the United We Start round table, which is something that we do the round tables on every month. And Randy, it was great having you on, and we spoke and covered an awful lot of things about what's going on in America and the issues across the globe and what's happening. But through everything, through chaos, comes a new dawn. And, that's really what's happening at the moment. And I kind of refer to that as the birth canal. And there's a lot of pushing and screaming and everything else, but there is light at the end of the tunnel. And we're going through that now. Change is inevitable. And something that you said, Thomas, which is very poignant, was that we care more for the people than they do. And that's very, that was very profound.
They don't even care for their own people.
No.
That's what, when you look at this whole system, and we talked about this on that show today, the traumatic programming that has gone into every generation of the power elites. And you start to understand that these criminals were themselves predated, mind controlled, sexually assaulted, molested. That this has been a system of perpetual abuse.
Mm. It's been repetitive, yeah.
Yeah, our awareness of this and our talking about it has been, I don't know, for me, it's been really painful to do this for almost a decade. And hopefully in all of this, we can stop talking about it at some point. But the point is, they didn't care about themselves. They don't care about each other.
No.
This is, as Thomas has described it, the Ouroboros. eating its tail. Well, it's a pretty small circle of the auroribus now because it's digesting.
Yeah.
We had the deep. Sorry, go ahead, Tom.
The only the head's left, and that's chewing itself. So it's up to us to bring up a new
Quite
plan.
a picture, actually.
Right. Yeah, and that's why we cannot replicate their world. As Randy said, all the so-called elites who thought they were elites, who were just slave masters, have been abused and lied to as well. They have to accept that, heal, and come and help us, because we all have a common interest of survival, including them. Now,
can I just... Sorry, Thomas, go on.
I'm going to bring in Kim. Hi, Kim.
Hey, Thomas. Hey, Randy. Hey, Alan.
Hi, Kim.
How is everyone?
We're well.
Very good.
I've been listening in. Great show.
Yes, well, we've laid it all out. You mentioned in your letter last week we're at a critical juncture. Can you emphasize that a bit?
Well, right now, the other side is kind of falling. There's a meeting coming up end of this month, beginning of next month, and they're probably going to elect yet another Pindar and go another round, and because this other one failed, and they're kind of spinning their wheels. Next, the banking structure that they have held so dear is falling apart. There's not a lot of funds left in the world. There's not a lot of liquidity. They've tried their systems after systems after systems, and nothing is working. So in my estimation, when something goes down, something else will inevitably take its place. And I'm hoping that something else is the people. So, I agree with Randy in the fact that, we've all been genetically modified, so to speak. We've all been beaten, but, there's nothing that can't be corrected. There's plenty of brilliant scientists and doctors in the world that have plenty of great ideas, and they just need to have the ability to work in a safe environment and to share, what they have with the world. And we're coming to that time where, the other people or the other side or our former rulers or whatever you want to call them are not going to be able to stop that anymore. But it's going to come from a place of unity. To give you kind of a small example, everybody talks about money and when's the money coming and assets and when's the assets coming and who's getting arrested, and it's all not really relevant. I don't know if any of you have ever visited the Dominican Republic or Haiti, but right there on the border there's a shanty town, and all of the people that live there live in squalor. Both countries have denied them citizenship, but they're there from protecting assets. And they don't have any money. They're growing their own food, and, they're not living in the best of conditions, and I wish things were different. But they've been there ever since the Clintons entered in there the first time and tried to take what it was that belonged to the people. But they're doing it. These arrests and all of these things that people talk about. Well, that's nice, but how's it going to change your life? How's it going to change your neighbor's life? How's it going to change the 7-year-old girl dying with cancer? How's it going to move humanity forward? How are we going to repair our DNA? There's plenty of things that we can do that we as humanity are capable of doing. We just need to band together and make it happen. And I agree with everybody that's been on the show. I've been listening a little bit here towards the end. But it's all about uniting. There's only one race. That's the human race. Any other race, this person's from America, this person's from New York, this person's from Moscow, this person's from North Korea, this person's got black skin, brown skin. It doesn't matter. It doesn't make a difference. There's one race. Everything else is branding and labels, all created by the Council on Foreign Relations for your human consumption. Who's the boogeyman this week? Who's the boogeyman last week? Who's the savior this week? I read up some of the blogs about, the RV and the global reset and all these people. There's always a new savior in there. And it's the person that tells everybody exactly what they want to hear. There's not actually anybody doing anything. It's just insert name here, whether it's Wanta or Mr. Cottrell or, the Chinese elders who shall remain nameless. It's always somebody new. And everybody just sits there and reads blogs and just waits for somebody else to do something. And it doesn't matter who it is. And now if you go against their opinions, then they'll all attack you in unity. In unison. But the truth is an ugly thing sometimes, I guess.
Yep, it sure is.
Well, I think we understand in all of this is that people like Michael Cottrell, Leo Wanta, they were bag carriers. They had bosses who screwed them. What a surprise. And they hopefully the ones above them that can make the crossover need to understand they got lied to and abused as well. This is the control grid that they set up. Yeah. The ones that set it up, I hope, are gone forever. And I hope that now we can start to heal from this.
I agree with you. Wanta, this is the strange thing about these people. So Wanta was an agent. He worked directly under the UN. He claims to have worked for the CIA. He worked for what I call Langley II or the Bush clan. And the order told him he was going to have all of these things. Therefore, he went around the world risking his life to get whatever it was. In all honesty, he was set there as cannon food for another group. I call it cannon food. It's when they put somebody with a big ego in front and they charge that person with a task and they take pictures with this person meeting with all of these other folks and different Russians and whatnot during that time and then if anything happens, then he's the one that takes the fall. Yeah. The Russians came after him. They didn't come after the people that actually did it. So, I understand that he was wronged. Well, flash forward to about a few months ago, or not even a few months ago, this is a few weeks ago, he got a call from Austria, from Mr. Von Wright's office. And off to Austria he was going. I don't understand these people. I mean, if you have the same people that took everything you had from you, purportedly, then you're going to believe them when you say they're going to give it all back? Yeah. I don't understand the concept. But all in all, they don't have the capacity to wage war. It's free to start a war. It's very inexpensive. But it is very expensive to finish a war. So right now, the only reason why we haven't fully erupted into a hot war everywhere is because they don't have the financial means to make it happen. So we have a time right now where all of the THI groups, all of Randy's group, all of Alan's listeners should all get together, and you can form groups in each country, each city, each state, and then everybody needs to come together and figure out how we're going to go forward from here. It's, people have come to me and say, well, what's the new plan? Well, I've kind of drawn circles, and because my plan, my rudimentary beginnings of a plan does not have a hierarchical structure. It's basically intertwining circles where all the different industries and different nations and whatnot all kind of cross over into each other. But and then I kind of stopped myself and I said, well, why am I drawing the new plan? I'm sitting here and I'm like, well, okay, we have not all of humanity together, but we have a few, right? Quite a few now. And why aren't these people making the new plan, or at least making their portion or what they feel is a contribution to the new plan? Because this is really about all their lives. This is not just about my life or Thomas's life or Randy's life or Alan's life. It's about all of you. And if we're going to make a way forward and then we're going to execute on that plan, everybody should play a part, not only in the writing of the plan, but also the executing of the plan too. And Thomas and I had a conversation about it, and I just want to let everybody know in advance, I want to thank you for your participation. I hope that you do participate. I hope that you do bring your ideas and your thoughts and your creativeness forward, on how best to move humanity forward, to the future. And you're right, Thomas. I mean, in the past, and there's been others, that have mentioned the same thing. If there is a quote unquote savior on the internet, be it a Chinese elder, Napoleon, Caesar, Hitler, whoever it is, it was created for you. It was created for you to believe that that's the savior. And you gotta wait for that person. And then usher in the boogeyman, which was also created by them for you. Yep. So you're not making your own decision there. You're waiting for someone else to do something. Everybody's talking about me. Well, I've got all kinds of horrible things written about me on the internet, and I had all kinds of great things written about me on the internet. But all in all, other than some input from Thomas and a few others, and I don't really have a lot of help with this part of it. So, fine, I'll do my piece, I'll do my part, but why would I write a new plan also? It makes no sense.
That, as I said in the show earlier, that's no different to the parents, where they're deciding for us, or the elders, or the covens, or the Illuminati. It's always somebody else deciding for us. We have to end that. We decide for us, and we have to take responsibility, which is what too many people lack. We lack our own responsibility of the world's in a mess. We all fix it. We had the issues back in 2013 with certain meetings that went on, and the off-world people were all blaming each other. No, they did this and they did that. No, stop that. Fix the mess that you in part created. Well, it's not all just the cabal or the top order that created the mess. We did also. And so we have a responsibility to fix it.
Willful ignorance is a crime.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But it's also a choice, isn't it? Ignorance is a choice.
It is now.
It is. It is now. I mean, maybe 20 years ago, not so much so. But, with the advent of the internet and everything is becoming so blatantly right in your face now. And, comments were made in the past by my predecessor. Well, we've thrown everything out there right in front of you. We've basically told you what we're doing, and nobody does anything. Nobody steps up and says, no, I don't want a vaccine. Nobody steps up and says, well, you put the money in the bank. You got paid for doing your job. You gave 3/4 of your or a quarter or whatever it is, depending on where you are, what state in the world, at least 1/4 of your money to taxes, depending on your income bracket, right off the top. So you just gave it back to them that you've earned from their corporations and some downline or another. And then you go to the grocery store, you go to buy some clothes, and you just pay taxes again, and you pay tax on your house, and then you're paying, you're paying. And before you know it, really about 20% of your paycheck is actually yours. And just like, the first time I tried to negotiate with them a few years ago, they told me they own 80% of everything everybody in the entire planet has. But that's really not true.
Don't know more.
But It's a bit mad, really. One thing we didn't get to talk about in the last show, Thomas, is the whole kind of tax idea, and I don't want to get into it, but, you know, it's not so much that the tax is voluntary, obviously here in Ireland and America as well, but it's I put up on Facebook, and I asked everybody on my Facebook page, and I said, can you tell me in any job that you've ever worked in, and I'll say this to everybody listening tonight, in any job that you ever worked in, did your boss or your accounts department ever show you the law that says you have to pay tax on your labour? Now, everybody on my Facebook page said no. But because they were told by their friends and family and everything else, it's the brainwashing over and over again, and we have to get out of that.
Fear programming. Randy, do you want to speak on that?
Well, actually, that was the point of the show that we did last Saturday.
Yeah.
I sort of referenced my own battle in asking to be shown that law. I was shown it, but not by anybody in authority. I went and researched it myself. The truth of the matter is these are all adhesion contracts. They're all contracts that derived out of color of law. And changing the system is hopeless. Changing yourself is doable. I decided that I live in parallel with the system. I do whatever is wise and prudent to remove as much of that energy as possible. And I think going forward, here again, my whole point is, in aggregate, we have 80% of the world. Actually, we have 99% of the world. They're the 1%. And when we understand that standing together for common things, not special privileges, not these one-upmanship games that we played as humans because we were pitted against each other. The commonality of what we possess, our consciousness, our will, our capacity, are the sum of what they have said they own.
Now, next, in relation to what you said, Randy, I agree with you. We need a parallel plan. We don't like the legal system, we don't like the taxation system. That is one of my circles, by the way. The legal system needs to be rewritten. Now, who listening to this call would like to rewrite that? No, seriously. You think I'm kidding?
Hands up. It's like...
Yeah. I mean...
Well, that thinking has to change.
Yeah.
Well, and what kind of tax system works? You know, Thomas and I have discussed at great length, which has also been discussed with the U.S. government anyway, about spending tax. You know, can we survive on a spending tax? And for those of you listening, if it hasn't been clarified, spending tax is where you only pay.
I think we lost Kim there.
I'll pick up the baton because we did work on it last September. Spending tax is where you only pay for what you spend. And so subsequently you've got all these billionaires and millionaires of their system spending vast fortunes and yet paying no tax. You know, we have to change that, and that's where the spending tax came in. And some reacted, you know, we worked on 10%, and then the bill went in at 23%. And some people reacted to the headline, and this is what I spoke about earlier, reacting to the headline and not thinking about it. If it was 23%, you're forgetting, depending on what tax band you're in, you know, some people are on 40%, so you've just saved 17%. And then you've got all the federal taxes, which would go away. With the new tax system of spending, there is no federal taxes. The Federal Reserve is defunct. They have no license. Only that there's some people who haven't learned to grow a set yet, they wouldn't exist anymore. In reality, they don't.
I will add to that one of the foundations of this has to be transparency. The American people and the people of the world do not at this time have an accounting of where their funds are going. This is how we wound up with covert operations and systems like MK Ultra and secret space program and all the other BS that they've been able to do under the table. You know, going forward, I think we need to demand a transparent ledger and accounting of what is spent by government. And this is what has been proffered, by the way, by the blockchain advocates. It's false, but they rightfully did bring it up, that there needs to be transparency in transactions. And it starts with government. Government needs to open its books. We need to end the dual bookkeeping system that is what is called CAFRA, the comprehensive annual financing that has gone on in every level of government for 30 or 40 years.
Slush fund is another word for that.
Exactly, yeah.
And obviously this idea that the politicians, because it's legal and it's allowed to claim massive expenses, they feel that they can just go ahead and do that, and there seems to be no morals or empathy in the fact. I mean, for example, over here there's a politician there recently, got a pay rise of 30,000 euros, but they were giving the old age pensioners €5. I mean, that's just pure greed. But the thing is that some of these politicians in Ireland, and probably the other countries as well, but in Ireland regarding the tax system, they know that the tax system is voluntary, but yet they're not saying anything because of pure greed. And again, it could be the case if Kim was on where you were saying about the 780 billion was going to the Rothschilds. Where's the money going from all the other countries as well? Is that being funneled out as well? Because all the taxes... It's the same thing, yeah.
Yeah, because all countries are tied into the Federal Reserve. Not one country can print their own currency. They have to print them through the Federal Reserve, and then the Federal Reserve charges them 10%. So this is why all countries are broke. You know, and and so if certain people grow a set and go and raid the Federal Reserve building and close them down, they're already closed down, but officially close them down, the rest of the world will be jumping to the roof, because then they can create their own currency with their own treasury, not the Federal Reserve. Federal Reserve is a harvesting system for every single country, not just America or Britain, of where it came out of. It's a harvesting system for every single country, and they've harvested left, right and centre. Like the Ouroboros again. They eventually run out of things to harvest. And once 2007 came along and Marduk, the former trustee, had everything, every single asset on the planet was pledged to the trust. Be it land, in-ground resources, above-ground resources, human souls, human energy, money, currencies, you name it, buildings. It was all pledged to the trust. And he cut them all off. You know, they were all slave masters. You know, and this is where we have to change that. And why I said earlier, I'm not interested in making people millionaires. I really don't see the need for people to earn over 100,000 a year, because most of it is spent on drivel, competing with each other. We have to stop doing that. This phone's better than your phone. What a load of flannel. An adult thinking society will recognise what I just said. Currently we're not, and that has to change.
We did the presentation, Thomas, to the Zoom, THI globally, on Zoom, and it was just kind of a generic idea for the countries to get an idea what the plans are. Now, obviously, it's all, it can be changed and edited and moved around, but the concept behind it is about being cooperatives rather than, you know, going back to the hierarchical, compartmentalized corporate system. where again you have control at the top and it filters down. All of the companies that would be in THI would be based on cooperatives, and the staff would have a say in how things are run. And having something like that, I think you gave out the numbers, Thomas, that 44% of corporate companies, only 44% of corporate companies last, but 88% if you're a cooperative. And that's like, that's a big difference. That's a big difference, and a positive way to have. Go ahead.
Yeah, the reason being is the corporations were harvesting centres, and they were all compartmentalised anyway. This is what we're seeing playing out now. The mergers, Sprint and T-Mobile, neither of which are American companies, I might add. They're not American owned. You know, no one mentions national security there, do they? You know, and then the Bayer Monsanto, they're swallowing up their own lower minions to create the Amazons and those type of companies. You'll see it. You've seen it in the banks. I think SunTrust took over another bank a couple of weeks ago. You're going to see it in the military industrial complex, where Bechtel or Halliburton will get swallowed by Northrop Grumman or Boeing. And it's up to us to create businesses that don't require them. That's why I set out the business plan. I may do a whole show, and so it can be posted on the People's Club, of how we go forward with businesses. You know, where we all look after each other. We share the profits. We look after the staff. Nobody looks after the staff, or very few. Although we've got a couple of our members, Liam in Scotland, who actually operates that business model. He's actually doing it. We need more of that, where all the staff are looked after, they're all equal, they all share their bonuses, and not some fat sack CEO flying first class here, there and everywhere in fancy Mercedes or Audi cars. No, that has to stop. You know, there's no need for the top person in a business to earn 2 or 3 times more than the lower end one. So if they want to increase their salary, they have to increase the lower staff salary also. You know, the idea that CEOs, you know, bloody charity companies earning 300,000 a year to $1 million a year as a charity worker, that's not charity, that's self-serving greed. And this is where we have to go away from that, where everyone shares in the business and we share it with each other. And if there's an expenditure in the businesses that are excessive because we're using outside corporations for various items, for argument's sake, stationery, we can turn round to that stationery company, be it Staples or whatever, and go, we want you to adopt our policy. Are you prepared to do it? And join the circle. Should they say no, we will have the funds to go and create our own stationery company, and we'll put them out of business. It's that simple. You know?
Yeah. Ultimately, I would like to see the dismantling of the corporate system.
Yeah.
I would like to people need to understand that a corporate structure is an artificial person. It was designed by law that way, and it overrode in its present state the living souls for which it was designed to serve. And it is a form of artificial intelligence. It's non-human, and it now enjoys more rights than the living souls who walk on the ground of this world. And I think we have to look at corporate structures via reviewing law and begin to understand that this is not a productive way for us to do business. There needs to be accountability. There need to be living human beings who run these companies with integrity and not hide with boards of directors and massive levels of bureaucracy.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd like to add to that, Randy. the corporate infrastructure doesn't work because there's too much control by the few controlling the many. So whether you have a company of 50 people or a company of 50,000, there's always going to be somebody at the top or board of directors controlling what way the system runs. And you could have one person who manages a department with, say, 1,000 people, and because of that person's mindset and attitude, it could actually affect the rest of the staff. So this is why and I'm speaking from experience because I've seen it, and I'm sure, Thomas, you've seen it, and Randy, you've seen it in the corporate world. There's too much control by the few controlling the many. And that has to change around, and this is why we need this cooperative business model to be brought in where the staff have a say. Because otherwise, because a lot of the time, as you guys know, when it comes to the corporate infrastructure, when the company's going to go bang, the board of directors are making their escape plans, but telling the rest of the staff that everything's okay and the profits are up.
Parachutes.
Exactly, and before you know it, the staff are kicked out, and they have a mortgage to pay, and all the directors are gone off somewhere else. Now, the other obviously problem with that, going back so much not for on the corporate side, but somebody has said to me, but if you have free energy, if the foundation have free energy, then why don't you just release it? And as you said, Thomas, that would be irresponsible, because again, if you have a device like you can put on the side of your house to power your home, then all these people are going to be made redundant. What's going to happen to them with their mortgages and families and everything else? There has to be a slow transition period.
That technology, by the way, is presently in pre-release. Intel has tracked this for 5 years, and I'm aware that is actually going to be done probably first in the Pacific Rim. And any technology that's capable of wiping out an entire industry obviously needs to be deployed thoughtfully. But I think we're also not looking at what it's going to create in terms of opportunity, and this truly is decentralization. On the day when you are no longer on the grid for electrical power, when you have the ability to power your needs, I'm saying your needs here, your ability to create, what kind of world does that create? What kind of creativity does that unleash in the individual human? Because really, the most empowering technology will empower the individual human being to be the creator that they were born to be. So I'm not threatened by that. I'm not threatened by the fact that, pardon me, that we potentially put people out of work, because I think there'll be better and more work for them inside of the system that creates, the decentralized system.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I just jump in there? There's a comment on the chat room, sorry, and they're giving out that we're hogging the conversation and not giving Kim a chance. Can we just say
no,
to the people on the
Kim dropped. She's back on now.
Exactly, yeah. She's been dropping in and out, so folks on the chat room. Sorry, Kim. We give you the platform. You go ahead.
Me?
Don't
well, I missed quite a little bit of the call there for a little bit.
We were talking about replacing it was called corporate, but it's actually co-pirate. You know, the pirates of the sea became the pirates of the land, and going with a cooperative business model was the way forward. You know, all their businesses have failed. They've only been kept going by the trust and all kinds of other slush funds. Let's be honest. They were designed to all fail. And so what we cannot do is replicate their world, their system. None of it.
Well, and it was a whole control mechanism as well. It was always set up from the beginning to be a control mechanism. Predominantly, initially, it was actually for the purpose of not only creating a control mechanism, but the trust had rules. So the trustees were only permitted to take a certain amount, meaning, a certain percentage as a management fee almost. and or for doing a job. And they had to create a mechanism to whereby they were once removed from the trust in order to collect additional monies. That's where the corporates came in. So it was not only control of industries, then of course they were being fed technologies from the Majestic 12. So everything that we have, that we use today in the world, it was predominantly created prior to, 1970. So our phones, our computers, everything has been fed to us over a period of time by these same corporates. And then they kept perpetuating, the use of everything from shampoo to televisions. Yeah. We've had holographic communication methods for, decades. And we're not using them. Why aren't we using them? It's the next phase, and our computers are created to degenerate. Yeah. So even if you take great care of your computer, within a couple of years, it's defunct.
Obsolete.
So, by no fault of yours. The phones are the same way. Apple phones are created to break. So they can make more money.
Built-in obsolescence.
Yeah.
So, we've got to be smarter.
Yeah, absolutely. And ending the materialistic game and the comparative mindset and competitive mindset brings that down in and of itself. Think about what you're buying. I set this as a test about 6-7 months ago. Analyze what you're spending each month. How much of it is wasted? And we all do it. I'm no different. You can subtle changes on a larger scale. It's the ripple in the pond. Well, if you keep rippling the pond, you're going to end up with a wave, and if you keep creating waves, you're going to end up with a tsunami. And that's the way forward. It's not rocket science. We don't have to follow their pattern, because their pattern failed. You all heard what I had to say before. Every single level has failed. It was designed to. There's no plan. Why is there no plan? Because we weren't supposed to be here in 2019 is why there's no plan. Not only we the people, but the clowns, all the bloodlines and all them, they were going to get wiped out also. And so we have to come up with a new plan. And this is what this show's about. And the baton passes to you all. It's not about Kim, it's not about me, Randy, Alan, or anyone else group who wants to get involved. We welcome all groups. But you've got to have the same drive of we're fixing the whole planet, because essentially is what we are. Kim mentions in a previous show of 489 different aspects of life that have to be changed. And that is our task, not their task, not Trump's task or Q or the government or whatever. We the people, we are the power, we are the group, we are the majority. Alan, final say before we wrap things up. I'm going to go round each one to have a final say.
Yeah, just number one, I just want to thank Kim and you, Thomas, for all the work that you've done. I'm sure the listeners would agree with me on that. I know you put your life on the line, and you really don't have a life anymore with things that are going on at the moment, and it's much appreciated for what you've done. And onwards and upwards, just let's crack on, let's get it done. We are looking for leaders. We're looking for people who will join THI, get involved and be a leader and try and change humanity for the better and make the changes and take the energy. And a big thanks again to yourself and Thomas and Randy. Thanks for coming on as well. And we had a good chat earlier on today. We'll be talking soon. But it's all about energy. It's all about working together as a team, putting your differences aside and taking the time and energy to do it, really. I mean, that's really what it is at the end of the day. Let's just be part of the change. Let's make the change and let's have a better world.
Thank you. Randy?
I don't have a lot more to add. I think I said a lot today. I'm really actually kind of emotional about what's going on right now because it's both shocking and exhilarating at the same time. Yeah. So, to people who are listening out there, my listeners, to all of the people who listen to our collectively 3 shows, there is no division anymore. It's time to hitch in. It's time to step up and build the world we wanted to see.
Thank you, Randy. Kim?
Well, their system is breaking down. We need to have a new system. Our system needs to be better. It needs to be an inclusive, interdependent world, in my opinion, which means that we all have a part to play and everybody touches another person's life or another industry, and everybody needs to work together. Money was a control system. It was created to control. And I don't expect money to disappear anytime in the near future, but maybe in 10 years we can make it happen. If that's the best way forward. Again, if you don't like the tax laws, rewrite the tax laws. There's just as much, and you would be very surprised, we have the ear of virtually every head of state, everywhere in the world. Yeah. They are just as confused as to what to do as most of you, beyond what you would imagine. And, there are a few good leaders out there, I would say, that really want to do the best thing for their people. But, they feel a little bit stifled because, as a head of state, you're, probably the top target in that particular country of the old guard themselves. The more they lose control, but, if there was 10,000 or 1 million or 2 million or 10 million people in America all rewriting the plan, don't expect to fight them in their court. The only way to win the game is not to play. You have to create a new game, and everybody is a player.
Absolutely.
That is one thing I have learned for as long as I've had this job, so to speak, or this position, is that the only way to win the game is not to play. Don't expect to fight them in their banks. I've come to the conclusion, I've done round after round after round, with these banks, and you can't fight them in their system. You have to go outside the system. You have to create a new way, a new system. If you have to work within the laws of your country, 100%, because their henchmen are the Department of Justice. Yeah. But don't expect to appeal to them to make them see your way. But there's a gray in every black and white, and we just need to find it. We need to put something together, and if the whole world is not listening anymore, then maybe they'll have to listen to us, or maybe we just won't care. I don't care if Hillary Clinton gets arrested. My life is not going to be any better or any worse for it. If there's no Chinese elders in the world, my life is not going to be any better or any worse for it. Religions. Connect with God directly. You don't need an intercessor. You don't need to be in a special building. You can do it every day, from no matter where you are, in your house, in your garage, in the park, whatever works for you. Connect to your inner self, because by connecting to your inner self and your higher self, as Randy had said, that is where you reach that connection to source. There is no other way. You don't need help. You don't need a fancy suit or a pointy hat or a white hat or a brown hat or any other color. Stop listening to these people on the internet saying they're the white hats, they're the purple hats, they're the ones in the Barney suit, they're the Chinese people. We have a fascination with all things foreign to us or things we don't have. That's all a branding coming from the Council on Foreign Relations. You don't need money to achieve all of these things. You can create things yourself. Sure, money helps propel you forward, and we are doing the best that we can to make that happen for everybody, but there has to be a plan. And maybe that's what's been missing all along. the new plan, the new way forward. Once we have a new plan and a new way forward, that'll make things a lot easier for us.
Yeah.
And always look at what I call the 50 factor. What happens if, Thomas says it all the time, what happens if that happens? What happens if we create a new legal system and this is the law for patents, or this is the law for X? Do we need that law? What happens next? Think about it. Think it through. When you put one sentence down in writing, as far as the new plan is concerned, what happens next? What could go wrong? How could they attack you? How could they attack us? So, I have faith in you. I believe in all of you. I believe in everybody listening. And if I didn't, I wouldn't have bet my life on you. We're doing this together. This is not just me. This is all of us. This is all of you. And I believe in you. Source believes in you. We wouldn't all still be here if we weren't making progress.
Yeah.
We have turned the corner. We are going to do this, and there has to be a new plan. Please reach out to your local THI group, reach out to Randy, reach out to Alan. Let's all get together and make this happen.
Thanks for that, Kim. And I hope this show focuses people. We lack focus. We've lacked personal responsibility. And we start to think, really think, future think, not past think. The past is for the healing only. We've learned much of the control structure through this show. Most of that's gone. They have nothing left. And as Kim says, if something goes away, something has to go in its place. Why not us? Thinking and acting different is not a cliche. It's your new Bible to abide by. There's an old saying in a film, build it and they will come. Perhaps if we build the plan, the funding may arrive with it. This has been the Truth, Honour and Integrity show. I hope you all got a lot out of it. I hope you all go away and think properly. Realign where you're short. Heal yourself. And let's step forward to the challenge. Thank you all for listening. And thanks Randy, thanks Alan, and thanks Kim for coming on the show and being part of it. Let's all go forward
Thomas.
Together. Right. I'll be back tomorrow with Alan.
Tomorrow, yeah. Tomorrow. Thomas Williams, Unplugged and Raw.
Oh dear. After.
That's going to be fun.
That reminds me of being in Florida again.
I didn't say naked.
Right. We're going to end up with this song.
And if you are, please don't do the video. Okay?
No.
We've got the perfect face for radio.
That's not the new plan.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
Right. Bye for now.